Well, first, I think I'll start with the news of the day or the news of the hour. We have agreed to terms with Cortland Finnegan. Cortland is in the building. The contract is not finalized. As you can imagine, contracts like these have some I's that need to be dotted and some T's that need to be crossed. We're also going to probably send him out off property and get a physical just to make sure everything's okay. We don't anticipate any problems with that, but we are very, very excited about his future here and what he can do as far as contributing to our defense. Obviously, I've had a relationship with him. I know him very well, and I know he's going to fit in and be a very fine player for us. So we're very, very excited about that. I'll field some questions here in a minute regarding that. Jason Jones is also in the building. He arrived last night. His situation is different. We have not agreed to terms. We are recruiting Jason right now, and we hope to have a chance to get things worked out. But we also think that JJ would also fill a need for us. So that's kind of just a quick update, on where we are in free agency. I'll let Les take it from here as far as what we did over the last few days as it relates to our picks.
Yeah, that's the news of the day. Obviously, we've had a lot of energy, excitement, things going on since the last time we were in this room, especially in the last week. First and foremost, I do want to. One of the most important things we probably did as an organization is some of our players and some of our staff went down to Harrisburg and helped those victims of that tornado. I think it was this past Friday. So that may be one of the more important things we actually did as an organization. But obviously, when I first stepped in this room probably a month ago, there were some rumors going on that we had the number 2 pick and we had options with that pick. Since that day and really in the last week, we've gone from the number 2 pick in the draft to having the top 3 picks in the top 39 of this year's draft, plus 2 number 1s in 2013 and 2 number 1s in 2014. And we've also signed Cortland Finnegan to be one of our leaders on defense. So we've had that going on. I mentioned in the first press conference, we're going to be an organization that understands how to build, develop, and coach its football teams to win division championships consistently. This is part of that building process. So it's one step. It's an initial step in the process. Got a lot of steps to go before we make this thing successful, but we plan on doing it. So we can open up from questions from there.
Jeff, what will Cortland bring to your defense?
Well, he's a complete corner, and that he's got great cover skills. He's a run support corner. He's got flexibility to move inside. There's always the potential to match him up on a top receiver on a game-to-game basis. He's a very, very hard worker every day, consistent on the practice field, consistent in the weight room, understands preparation. We're going to have some younger players in the room, and I think he'll be a great example for them. He plays hard. I think his reputation is widely misunderstood out there, from the standpoint of, the dirty player type thing and all that. He's just a very productive player and better on the field. I would say this, the only thing he does better on the field is what he does off the field in the community, and he'll have a tremendous impact and role in the community as well.
You would say, though, that he plays with an edge, though. You like that, right?
Oh, he plays with an edge. Yeah, he does, and he challenges and he competes and he finishes every down.
As far as Bartell goes, were there a lot of concerns about the neck?
No, actually, he was cleared. I visited with him a couple weeks ago, and he was cleared. He passed a physical, and it's just change. It's give him an opportunity to pursue and continue his career elsewhere. But we're starting over.
For either of you guys, is there a conscious effort, because the Rams had one of the oldest rosters in the league? Is it a conscious effort to try to get younger?
Well, if you're gonna build, you want to build with youth, and that's one of the things that we committed weeks ago, that we've got to start young, and we've got to develop players, and we have to build this thing mostly through the draft. And we looked at both markets. We felt okay, here's a couple options here in free agency. Let's attack these. Let's see if we can have some success here. And then, obviously, we were, and I'll let Les speak on it. We were, these weren't the only two players we talked about. I mean, it's been a crazy day. So, and there were some guys that we expressed interest in. There were negotiations, there were talks, there were things, and some of those things didn't work out for us.
Les, how fierce was the competition for that number 2 pick? Evidently, pretty fierce.
Well, yes, it was fierce, and there was obviously what most people consider 2 franchise quarterbacks in this draft, and there was more teams that felt like they needed a franchise quarterback. And I think history says in the past 7 Super Bowl winners, I think 6 of the 7 have been first-round draft choice quarterbacks, with the exception being Drew Brees as a second-rounder, and I'll make the note that Tom Brady, the lone 6th-rounder, was about 8 years ago. So obviously, I think because of the circumstances of the position and what people wanted, it made the pick valuable.
Was that engaged in those talks for that pick? Did you have a baseline of what you expected to get back, or did you just kind of go in with a clean slate, hoping for the best?
I've said many a times, Ernie, of course, he said on a radio show that that pick could be worth 3 to 4 to 5 first-rounders. So I was using his point chart. Yes, we analyzed it internally. We came up with what I'll quote-unquote say our franchise quarterback point chart, and from there we set a standard of what we wanted, and we were able to get it, and we went from there.
Was that a trade you wanted to make before free agency opened up, or is that just kind of how it worked out?
I think we had those discussions early on. It evolved, I think, with the dynamics that are going on now, with so many teams needing quarterbacks, a couple of free agents making rounds. I think a lot of the teams, including us, wanted to get it done sooner rather than later, and it happened to be before free agency, so we could all start making plans.
Do you feel confident that just with switching picks in the first round with Washington at 6, that you can get the player that you want? There's some speculation that there's a drop-off after 5 players.
Yes, we would not have made that pick or we would not have made that trade if we didn't think that was the case. I promise you that. So the answer is yes.
Jeff, I know we're only day 2 of free agency, but what are you going to do for wide receivers? A lot of them went off the board yesterday.
They did, and again, when you start the process, you look at both markets, and this draft's got a lot of really talented receivers. There's still some receivers out there that we're interested in. There's also the potential for trade. So it's a position that we're going to address, and we'll continue to address it, and we'll fill the need.
You used the word recruiting earlier. How do you sell players to come play for you?
Well, I mean, what you want to do, I mean, you first off, you walk in the building, they're impressed with the building. Many times this is only the second facility that they've ever seen, and so the facility speaks for itself, and then it's an opportunity. They get to meet the coaches, they get to meet everybody in the building. They got to feel good about it. It's not about whining and dining and those kind of things. It's more about their future and how they fit in the program, and then of course it's an opportunity to win, and we feel like we're going to win here, and the players we're bringing in here are going to give us a chance to do that.
I'm going to add to this too, because that was very humbly said. But just as if you were about to take a job somewhere else, you would, and you had, friends that were in that organization, you would call and ask about that organization, maybe ask about the person you're working for. I can tell you this: players do that in this league. It's a small league. Everybody's in a fraternity, and I know this: when they do call and they research, Jeff as a head coach and somebody they want to play for, I promise you it comes back extremely positive. And so he humbly said it was facilities, and that all has to say, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. Having Jeff as a head coach is a big factor in players wanting to come play here and actually play hard here.
Jeff, part of maybe asking the audience, how much of an edge, though, in free agency is it when you're recruiting players that you've coached before? And conversely, do you have to do extra stuff if it's a player that you're not familiar with?
Well, no, I mean, we've been doing it for a long time. We didn't sit down and say, hey, let's go get all the Titan and Falcon players we possibly can. It just so happened that 2 of the top guys on our list were my former players. So, no, we've had success with that. It's just about getting the right people. This philosophy and this effort moving forward, it's all about chemistry, and it's about hard work, and it's about putting a team together. And we made are going to continue to make a conscious effort not to just go out and sign somebody without having them in the building. You know, you need to meet people. We need to make sure that the coaches and the potential player, the prospect, are going to get along, that they're going to fit in the system, that there's the ability to learn, there's all character issues and all those kind of things. And so, you know, there's guys out there. Obviously, I'm not, condemning any teams or being critical of teams, but our preference is to bring guys in the building, get to know them, and feel good about them, get the visit in, and before we make any decisions.
Jeff, what's your perceived timetable on when the NFL is going to rule on Greg Williams?
You know, I don't have one. I've not spoken to the league. Obviously, it's the investigation is ongoing. I can't comment any further. But as far as timetable, I can't predict that. I don't know.
How involved is he now?
Well, he's totally involved in everything. Yeah.
Les, as far as the number 6 pick goes, are you still entertaining thoughts of maybe moving down for extra picks, or are you entrenched there? Are you going to stay the 6th?
Just like with number 2, we have options with that pick depending on the circumstances and the players that may fall to us or may not fall to us there. So we'll definitely look at all options with that and make the best decision for this organization.
Jeff, is your coaching staff complete?
Just about. I told you about patience, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a secret weapon out there somewhere.
There is. That's it. Yeah.
What position are you still yet to fill?
I've got one position left. So
Assistant special teams coach?
it could be that, yes.
Is it true Kevin said he was going to have to build an addition to the building for all these?
No, I don't think the staff's any bigger than it was last year.
I know this. I'm not sure if this is just to let you know that I know a lot of people. You get a veteran coach who's been around a lot of years, and he's hit the ground running so fast and so hard and so furious. I'm not sure that he even has a bed yet. Last time I checked, he was on an air mattress. I don't know if I should let the cat out of the bag.
That's all right. Yeah.
But that's
the air went out of the bag.
He checked. Yeah, we were going to have to bunk together one night, but we squelched that for sure.
Les, is there enough room left under the cap for another significant acquisition here, maybe on the level of Portland, or are you guys looking more at mid-level or lower level?
Like Jeff said, you have the first day and things happen and players come off the board and you have to adjust on the fly, but you adjust strategically. But yes, we got options under the cap, and what we're trying to do is hey, whoever we bring in here is going to be productive within our scheme, and if it's a higher paid player, so be it. If it's a mid-level paid player, as what you said, so be it.
The players you let go, that were here, is there a consideration to bringing any of those guys back, or is there a time with their hands done?
No, there's always that potential, and that's what we shared with them as well. You just at this time at the league calendar year when it opens, there's decisions you have to make, and every single one of them I spoke with understood that.
Did you inform the players?
Yes, I did.
Is that important to you for you?
I've done that since I became a head coach. Yes.
Les, your free agents, your long list of your own free agents, are you still talking to some of those guys?
Yes, we are.
Jeff, you mentioned building a team through the draft. How important then, when you sign these free agents, how important is it for those players in your mind to have long-term viability with the franchise?
Well, I mean, let me just say this: we're not going to exclude the possibility of signing a veteran UFA at some point over the next couple days that's got a tremendous amount of experience. But what you want to do is you want to reduce the age of your football team if you can, and with the picks that we have, we got a chance to do that.
Les, what of the, well, we're not even 24 hours in, but it's been a while. Well, you've never really had a free agency like this that started at 3 in the afternoon. But what's the first, can you compare it to past ones? Has it been different, the same, or crazy as usual?
Well, I can say I know this: at 3 o'clock, you're fresher than you are at midnight, but usually when it starts at midnight, about 2 a.m. or 3, everybody's ready to go home and they're tired of it. Where yesterday the day seemed to keep getting longer and longer and longer. So, but that's really it. I mean, it's a simple adjustment, and you go from there. But only the time change and being fresher at 3, and maybe a little tireder at midnight.
But in terms of the activity, it's just about the same, right, the first few
You know, and you may have had more time than me to do the research to figure out if there were more signings yesterday than years past. I promise you, I hadn't had that time yet. So, but it seemed like it was about the same. You have some top level players going off fast and getting paid well, and now it seems to be settling down like it always has.
The deal was announced this morning rather than 3:01. I mean, yesterday. Why was that? Was there some kind of?
Well, to be frank, we didn't have a deal at 3:01, and to be frank, the deal, we're still ironing out a few details. So, I mean, we've agreed the terms. He's in the building, and so.
I'm talking about
I'm talking about the
draft.
blockbuster trade for.
Oh, yes, same with the start of the new league year. So that was a rumor all weekend, but because it could not become official until the start of the new league year, I related it to having a verbal commitment and signing days on February whatever, and we got to make sure we get the guy in the boat.
There's no real reason for it going another day, though. That's all I'm wondering why it wasn't announced yesterday, right? It's boom when the.
Well, we sent it in yesterday, and then it had to be approved.
Jeff, it's been a whirlwind of activity for you since you came back as a head coach. Has there been one thing that has surprised you or something you didn't expect coming back as a head coach? Something that changed since you were gone?
Yeah, I think the biggest change is that of the off-season program. The way it is set up and the way the schedule is. That's the biggest change. I mean, and I would be honest with you, I'm disappointed. We would love to have our quarterback upstairs and get him involved in the system as he would like to be up there, but we can't have him in the building. He can come in and lift, but we can't, you can't give your quarterback an opportunity to get a head start in your offense before you have your voluntary veteran minicamp. So that's the biggest change in how the off-season program is set up. But other than that, it's.
When can you get started?
We are, April 2nd, new head coaches are permitted to start their off-season program on April 2nd, which we will, and that they refer to it as phase 1. And for 2 weeks, the players are just simply permitted to condition, to lift weights and to run. And there's no contact between the coaching staff and the players is prohibited for the first 2 weeks. So the third week of April, we are permitted under the new system to have a voluntary veteran minicamp. Now that comes during draft meetings, and to me that doesn't make any sense. But we are going to try to get some work done the third week with our football team in the meetings and on the practice field over a course of a couple days.
So you couldn't even give Sam a playbook or anything like that?
That's correct. Yeah. And in a quarterback-driven league, it would make sense that, you could at least be given an opportunity to develop your quarterbacks or meet with them during the offseason. And hopefully, these things will be revisited. But again, I'm not being critical of the new collective bargaining agreement. I'm just simply saying that's the biggest change that I noticed from, 2011 till now.
I do sense a motion coming.
So even in those first two. It was a game-breaking wide receiver in college. How do you evaluate wide receivers as to whether they're going to turn out to be Des Bryant, or Michael Crabtree, or Larry Fitzgerald? I mean, what are some of the traits that you look for coming out of college where that's going to carry over into the pros?
Let me go, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead.
That is a tough position to evaluate. I think some of the traits on athleticism, speed, play speed, ability to go catch the ball, all of those things, it's the same whether you're in college or pro. The difference in college and pro, I think, is a playbook is you're going to ask receivers in the pro game to read coverages, adjust off of those coverages, which they might not do in the college game. So, and also, usually the defensive backs in our level is going to be better than the defensive backs they played against. So you got those adjustments that usually take time, and it's hard to predict, but you better be good at it. I know that.
I'm going to wrap it up. What our expectations are to have a 10 a.m. press conference tomorrow. We hope by that time we'll have the Cortland Finnegan deal all put together, and we'll be able to introduce them to you and to our fans.